Most people think they lack discipline. They believe something is wrong inside them. They feel weak when habits break quickly. They blame themselves for inconsistency. But discipline does not fail randomly. It fails for a very specific reason. Your brain is not built for discipline. It is built for survival first, and survival prefers comfort over effort. That is the first hidden truth. Discipline feels hard by design, not because you are incapable, but because your brain resists effort. Effort signals energy loss immediately, and energy loss feels like danger. So the brain avoids it automatically. That is where the struggle begins. Jack decides to wake up early tomorrow. He feels motivated the night before. The plan feels clear and exciting, but morning arrives differently. His brain feels heavy and slow. Comfort feels safer than action, so he delays and stays in bed. The decision feels small in the moment, but the pattern repeats every day. Now compare Mike carefully. He understands the brain's resistance clearly. He does not rely on motivation alone. He builds systems around resistance. He expects discipline to feel uncomfortable. That expectation changes everything, because he is not surprised by difficulty. Most people expect discipline to feel easy, so when it feels hard, they think something is wrong. That belief creates frustration quickly. Frustration leads to quitting early. That is the second hidden problem. Wrong expectations destroy discipline. Discipline is not natural behavior, it is trained behavior over time, and trained behavior always feels difficult first. The third hidden reason, the brain prefers immediate reward always. Future reward feels abstract and distant. Present comfort feels real and certain, so the brain chooses present comfort even when future reward is better. Jack chooses comfort over discipline because comfort is immediate and visible. Mike chooses discipline despite discomfort because he understands delayed reward. That understanding creates control. The fourth hidden issue, decision fatigue, reduces discipline quickly. Every decision drains mental energy. The more decisions you make daily, the harder discipline becomes later. Jack makes many small decisions constantly. By evening, his energy is gone. Discipline feels impossible at night. Mike reduces decisions intentionally. He creates routines and fixed habits. This preserves energy for important actions. The fifth hidden reason, environment shapes behavior more than willpower. If your environment promotes comfort, discipline becomes extremely difficult. Jack keeps distractions around him always, phone notifications, social media temptations. His environment pulls him away constantly. Mike designs his environment carefully. He removes distractions before they appear. This makes discipline easier to maintain. The sixth hidden factor, emotion overrides logic under pressure. Stress makes discipline much harder because emotion takes control quickly. Jack loses discipline when stressed. He reacts emotionally to situations. Mike prepares for emotional moments. He expects stress and builds systems. That preparation protects his behavior. This is the truth about discipline. It is not about being stronger. It is about being prepared for resistance, discomfort, and pressure. That is what creates consistency, and consistency creates real progress. The next reason discipline feels hard is because of how dopamine works. Most people misunderstand motivation completely. They think motivation creates consistent action, but motivation is unreliable and unstable. It comes and goes without warning. That is where the problem begins. Dopamine drives behavior more than logic. It pushes you toward immediate reward and away from delayed effort constantly. That is why discipline feels unnatural, because it delays reward intentionally. Jack wakes up feeling motivated sometimes. He starts a new habit with energy. The first few days feel exciting. Progress feels fast and visible. But after a short time, the excitement begins to fade. The habit feels heavier and harder because dopamine drops quickly. Now the effort feels real without excitement to support it. Jack stops because it feels difficult. He believes motivation disappeared completely, but motivation was never stable. It was always temporary energy. Now compare Mike carefully again. He does not rely on motivation. He expects motivation to fade quickly, so he builds systems without it. He continues even when it feels boring. That is the key difference. Most people chase motivation constantly, but motivation is not the solution. It is only a trigger start. The second hidden problem: comfort becomes addictive over time. Every easy action reinforces comfort patterns: scrolling, eating, resting, avoiding effort. These actions feel safe and rewarding. The brain begins to prefer them strongly. That preference reduces discipline naturally. Jack chooses comfort repeatedly every day. Each choice strengthens the comfort habit. Over time, effort feels harder than before, because comfort became the default behavior. Mike limits comfort intentionally. He does not remove it completely, but he controls when it happens. This prevents comfort from dominating behavior. The third hidden factor: your brain avoids uncertainty automatically. Discipline often involves uncertainty and effort. You do not know immediate results. You do not feel instant progress. That uncertainty feels uncomfortable, so the brain avoids disciplined actions. Jack avoids tasks that feel unclear. He chooses easier, predictable actions instead. Mike accepts uncertainty as part of growth. He continues without needing immediate feedback. That creates long-term progress. The fourth hidden issue: instant gratification weakens long-term thinking. When rewards come instantly, the brain stops valuing patience. Everything must feel immediate to matter. Discipline does not provide immediate reward, so it feels less important. Jack checks his phone constantly. Each notification gives instant stimulation. That reduces his ability to focus. Mike limits instant rewards intentionally. He protects focus and attention carefully. This makes discipline easier to maintain. The fifth hidden reason: people confuse feeling good with progress. They think good feelings mean improvement, but discipline often feels uncomfortable because it requires effort and consistency. Jack avoids discomfort whenever possible, so he avoids disciplined behavior. Mike accepts discomfort as necessary. He does not expect discipline to feel good. That expectation changes everything. The sixth hidden factor: motivation depends on emotional state. If mood is low, discipline disappears. If mood is high, action feels easy. This creates unstable behavior patterns. Jack acts based on how he feels. Mike acts based on what he planned. That difference creates consistency. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Discipline is not supported by dopamine. It is built despite dopamine patterns. That is why it feels hard, because it goes against your brain. But that is also why it works, because few people can maintain it,
and those who do create advantage. That is the real truth. Discipline feels hard for a reason, not because you are weak, but because your brain resists it.
The real power of discipline is not the moment you act, it is the pattern you repeat. Small, disciplined actions repeated daily quietly reshape long-term outcomes. That is where most people fail. They focus on single moments only. They ignore repeated behavior patterns. That is why progress feels random. But progress is never random. It is always patterned behavior. Let me explain this clearly. One disciplined action feels small. One completed task feels insignificant. One consistent day feels ordinary. But repeated over many days, these actions create powerful systems, systems that shape your future identity. Jack tries discipline occasionally. He works hard for a few days, but then he stops completely because he expects fast results. Without results, he loses motivation quickly. That breaks the consistency pattern. Now compare Mike carefully again. He does not expect immediate results. He expects slow, invisible progress. He repeats actions daily without change. That repetition builds stability first. Stability creates confidence slowly. Confidence creates stronger identity. That identity drives future behavior. This is the compounding effect, not dramatic but consistent, not visible early but powerful later. Most people chase quick results because fast results feel rewarding, but fast results rarely last because they lack stable systems. Jack changes habits frequently. He tries new strategies every week because he wants faster progress, but constant change destroys consistency. Mike keeps the same system. He repeats it every single day, even when it feels boring. That is what creates real progress. Consistency always beats intensity because intensity is temporary, but consistency compounds over time. Jack uses motivation to act. Mike uses systems to act. That difference changes everything because motivation is unstable, but systems are predictable. The more predictable your behavior, the more stable your results become. This is why discipline matters. It creates predictable outcomes. Without discipline, outcomes remain random. Random outcomes create frustration. Frustration leads to quitting quickly. That is the cycle most people follow. Discipline breaks that cycle completely by creating stable, repeated behavior. Stable behavior builds strong identity. Strong identity drives consistent action. Consistent action creates real progress. That is the path to success, not through motivation bursts, but through consistent repetition. That is what most people miss, and that is why they struggle, because they chase feelings instead of building systems. That is the quiet truth. Discipline feels hard at first, but becomes easier over time because identity catches up and identity stabilizes everything. At this point, the pattern is clear. Discipline is not about motivation bursts. It is about building repeatable systems, systems that work even without feeling. So the solution becomes practical. You must design discipline intentionally, not rely on emotion or energy. Step 1. Remove decision friction daily. Make important actions easier to start. Prepare your environment before action begins. Lay out tools the night before. Reduce steps between thought and action. This makes starting much easier. Step 2. Create fixed routines.
Do the same actions at the same time. Consistency removes the need for decisions, and decisions drain mental energy quickly. Routines protect energy for execution. Step 3. Lower the starting threshold. Do not aim for perfect performance. Aim for consistent small actions. 5 minutes is better than 0. This builds momentum gradually. Momentum creates progress naturally. Step 4. Separate action from feeling. Do not wait to feel motivated. Act first, then allow feeling to follow. This reverses the normal pattern and builds control over behavior. Step 5. Track behavior, not outcomes. Focus on what you did today, not what results you achieved. This reduces pressure and frustration and keeps you consistent longer. Step 6. Design your environment carefully. Remove distractions before they appear. Limit access to comfort and avoidance. Make disciplined actions more visible. This increases success probability significantly. Step 7. Create recovery systems. Rest without destroying your routine. Allow breaks but not abandonment. This prevents burnout and inconsistency. Step 8. Plan for failure moments. Expect days when discipline feels impossible. Prepare backup actions for those days. Even minimal action keeps the system alive. Step 9. Build identity intentionally. Do not think about goals only. Think about who you are becoming, someone who acts regardless of feeling. Identity-driven behavior lasts longer. Step 10. Repeat daily without interruption. Consistency builds automatic behavior slowly. Automatic behavior creates stability naturally. Stability creates long-term progress. That is how discipline becomes easier. Most people fail here because they expect immediate change. They want results before systems stabilize. That expectation destroys consistency quickly. Jack tries many different strategies, but stops when results feel slow. He changes direction repeatedly. That prevents any system from forming. Mike chooses one simple system. He repeats it every single day, even when it feels ineffective. That repetition creates stability. Stability creates confidence slowly. Confidence reinforces consistent behavior. This is the real transformation, not becoming perfect overnight, but becoming consistent over time. That consistency creates visible results. Results reinforce the system further. This creates a positive cycle, the opposite of the failure cycle, where inconsistency destroys progress. So your new rule is simple. Remove friction before action starts. Follow routines without overthinking. Start small and stay consistent. Act regardless of how you feel. Track behavior instead of results. Repeat this for 90 days. That is enough time to change your identity permanently. Once identity changes fully, discipline stops feeling forced. It starts feeling automatic. That is when progress becomes stable, not through effort alone, but through better systems. Now, if this changed your thinking, write this in the comments. I act even when it feels hard. That commitment matters psychologically because written identity strengthens behavior, and behavior stabilizes long-term results. Once results stabilize, discipline becomes easier to maintain. That is when success begins, quietly, consistently, and predictably.